everyone. Today we're going to be going over yoga basics. So today our focus is the number one focus, which should always be spinal extension. So no matter what pose you're doing, whether it's a forward fold, whether it is a back bend or a twist, or whether it's a downward facing dog, the key element that we want to try and create in our body is spinal extension. And the reason why is because it's going to help us overall to create more length and more space through the rest of the body. It's going to give you more room to breathe. It helps to keep you safer. So spinal extension is really what we're looking for. No matter what we're doing, that should always be the number one priority. So Haley's going to go ahead and start to walk forward and come into a downward facing dog. And we'll see how this plays out. So this downward dog looks really good. I might actually have Haley walk her feet a little further forward here, just a teeny bit. And now she's starting to get this great spinal extension. So if she bends her knees just a little bit, right, and then really focuses on pressing her tailbone to the sky and her hips towards the back of the room, now she's getting even more spinal extension. Then from here, she can slowly start to straighten her legs and come into this fuller expression. Now she might even relax her shoulders a little bit here and really lengthen the crown of the head towards the floor. And now she's got this beautiful extension in her spine, right? So sometimes what'll happen is you'll start to kind of come forward and the back will round and you won't really be getting full extension, right? So it'll kind of look like roundy in the front part of the back, right? So again, all Haley's going to do is focus on pressing her tailbone to the sky and her hips towards the back of the room, and that brings this back into alignment. Right. So when she's ready, she's going to go ahead and just come down. Take a moment there. Right. So then the next thing that we focus on is in forward folds. Right. And again, spinal extension is number one, but the way that we get spinal extension is through what we call forward rotation of the pelvis. So forward rotation of the pelvis means that the pelvis is moving with you as you fold, right? So a lot of times what we'll see is the pelvis kind of stays where it is. My hands are on my hips right now, which is part of the pelvis, right? So then as I start to tip forward, I'm bending from the top of the hips, and then it looks like this, right? So if you're somebody that tells me that you can't touch the floor, probably there's some element of this going on. You might be able to get more forward rotation. Not to say that there's not some stiffness still there, maybe in the back or in the backs of the legs that are preventing you from getting all the way down. But if the pelvis moves with you, it gives you a lot more length, right? So again, if you're not moving the pelvis, it looks like this. If you are moving the pelvis, which you can actually take your hands onto your hips and feel the pelvis moving with you, now all of a sudden, my hands hit the ground, right? So when I come up, I just come up with a nice strong back. And then we'll see what this looks like in Haley. So Haley's gonna go ahead and make her way back up to standing. And then go ahead and just fold forward. Just let's see what's there, right? So this looks good, right? But to get a little more, again, hey, she's already doing it because she hears me say this all the time. She's gonna bend her knees just a little bit and then really focus on pressing your belly button down through your thighs as you start to walk the hands back, not back towards you. There it is. Good. Now all of a sudden she's got this length. Then maybe she'll extend the tailbone up to the sky, just like we did in downward dog, and really focus on melting that belly button through the legs. Maybe she will walk her hands back just a little more, maybe. Right? I'm really working her in this pose here. Okay. So then now what'll happen is you can hopefully see this forward rotation here. The pelvis has moved with her. Now if she straightens her legs and kind of brings her chest up, see how she automatically comes out of the pose a little bit, right? So her pelvis started to come up. Now she brings her pelvis up even more. So lift your hips up. There it is. Now she's doing this bend from the upper back and her pelvis is straight up and down, right? Which is why she's not able to get as much. Even if she does bend her knees a little bit, right? If she doesn't focus on pressing the belly button through the thighs, then it turns into this kind of roundy lower back thing, which puts some strain on the low back. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. So again, to get out of this, we bend the knees, focus on pressing the belly button down through the thighs as we walk the hands back. Okay. So when Haley's ready, she's going to go ahead and come up. Beautiful. So then we'll show you how we can apply this seated. So now we're going to look at forward rotation of the pelvis in a seated position. So Haley is sitting here, and she's going to sit up as tall as she can, really lengthening up through the spine. She maybe is going to drop her chin just a little bit until it comes in line with my finger. This is a nice way of making sure that you're getting extension through the cervical spine and up through the crown of the head. Right? So then from here, Haley's going to start to rotate herself around so her belly button lines up with the center of the thigh. Then when she's ready, she's going to lengthen the heart forward and start to melt the belly button down to the leg as she reaches for the foot. So then we want to be mindful here of what's happening in the head. She might turn the chin up. This is a really common thing that'll happen, right? You're looking towards the foot, and that takes length out of the cervical spine. The same thing can happen too if she collapses her head all the way down, right? Then we're starting to kind of put pressure on the back of the neck and not use these muscles. So what we want is, again, this really nice straight line that goes all the way from the crown of the head and back to the tailbone, just like in downward facing dog. So when Haley's ready, she's going to go ahead and come up. And then if we want to get more forward rotation in the pelvis, sometimes it's helpful to sit up onto a blanket. So you could use a blanket, you could use a bolster, you could use another rolled up yoga mat. There's all sorts of things that you can do. But whatever you choose to sit on, you want to make sure that the back half of the pelvis is on the prop and the front part or the pubic bone is actually hanging off just a little bit. Right. So then again, Haley's going to sit up nice and tall on the inhale. On the exhale, she'll rotate around just a little bit so the belly button comes in line with the center of the thigh. And then on the next breath out, she's going to start to fold forward and reach towards the leg. So again, as she's folding forward, you start to see this rotation in the pelvis here. The belly button is reaching towards the center of the thigh. The heart is elongating forward, and this is going to create that spinal extension that we keep talking about. Again, we have forward rotation of the pelvis, we have length and space. Maybe on the inhale, she could lift the heart even more, and then exhale, melt and fold a little deeper. There it is. Again, we have forward rotation of the pelvis here. So when Haley's ready, she's going to go ahead and come back up. So another thing that'll happen is sometimes the pelvis will stay straight. So keep your pelvis straight up and down, Haley, and just start to reach towards the foot. See, she's not going to get as far as she was when she was getting all that length and space. Can you do it with the other arm too? And keep that pelvis tipping back. Yeah. So again, pelvis is straight up and down. Now go ahead, start to melt your belly button forward. Let the pelvis move with you. And you can see now all of a sudden this pelvis is rotating and moving. If for any reason, any day, you're not able to quite reach the foot, you can always use a yoga strap, or if you don't have a strap, you can use a scarf. You can use a belt, anything will work. All right. So again, you just wrap it around the ball of the foot and then grab onto it. And she'll sit up nice and tall. As she breathes out, she'll let the pelvis move with her as she reaches the belly button towards the center of the thigh and lengthens the heart forward. And then she can start to walk her hands forward towards the foot to elongate more. Again, we want to be mindful of what's happening in the neck. So we want to keep that engagement through this musculature at the back of the neck while she elongates and presses forward. So again, we're just going to move her just a little more. There it is. Good. When she's ready, she'll inhale to come back up. And then we would make our way to do the other side because, of course, yoga is about balance and we want to maintain the balance between left and right. So if you do something on one side, it's important to do it on the other. So I hope that this video was informational. Thank you to my assistant Haley for her help. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out. Namaste.